Welcome to the channel. My name is Matt, and I am the Comedic Carpenter. And I believe I have assembled what is the most formidable arsenal of cabinet-making tools for the small one-man shop. Maybe, maybe not. That's for you to decide. But I'll tell you, I'm never wrong. I'm never wrong. These tools make my builds faster, more accurate, and more hassle-free. We'll get into the tools shortly. But first, gotta take care of a little bit of business. Okay? If you like what you see here, why don't you like, subscribe, and if you're really feeling feisty, leave a comment, because I am curious what you think. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. Just leave a damn comment. Also, visit the website. Sign up for the mailing list. It's going to be huge, folks. It's going to be the biggest thing on the internet soon. I promise. And if not, well, all I can do is promise. I can just tell you my intentions. It's going to be bigger than Facebook. It's going to be bigger than Twitter. It's going to be bigger than the internet itself. Okay? Damn, that's big. That's big. All right, let's get started. Make sure to watch to the end because there's going to be some honorable mentions. Didn't quite make the cut. Just missed it. Number one, you're going to build some cabinets. Well, first thing, you need a good design. And I use software because it's a lot smarter than I am. It's called Mosaic. It's pretty awesome. It's got a ton of features. It's kind of an all-in-one solution. 3D design, 2D design, but the most important thing is it gives you cut lists, material lists, and it has a plywood sheet optimizer so you can get the most you can out of a single sheet of plywood, which is really handy. You can set up your presets, I guess you'd call them, exactly how you build your cabinets. So if you do a dado that you slide your back into, you can set that up. Or if you do a plant on the back like I do, just a piece of 1/2-inch plywood screwed right to the back, you can set it up like that. So having the design out of the way, gotta start breaking down plywood. That's where I start. And to do that, son of a track saw. All day long. This is the Festool one. If you've seen the channel, you know I'm into Festool. This is the new one. TSC 55K. So much better than the old one. It actually is. It's got a real thin blade. Cuts twice as fast as the old saw. And a pair of batteries will get you quite a bit of runtime. Got the track saw. Boom. What else? 2 accessories. Make this thing an absolute beast, breaking down plywood. TSO products, GRS 16PE. Number 2, also TSO. It's one of their parallel guides. Repeat cuts with very high accuracy. Little stop. This just goes on the guide rail. Just drops right on that rail. You can set this stop wherever you need it. Make repeat cuts. Excellent. So normally I'll break down sheet goods into smaller, manageable sizes. Then I'll finish them on the table saw, especially if I need 10 of the same part. I just use the track saw to make them a little more manageable, and I finish on the table saw. That's the best way I've found, and I suggest you try it, all right? Now, the next step in this process, assembling the cabinet box. Now, what I do is I tack it together with staples, and I screw it. But drilling holes and running screws, as simple as it sounds, can be a little complicated, all right? Especially if you've got a lot to do. You can drive them too deep really easily. I have a Mana Tools countersink. An 1/8-inch pilot bit. What's nice about this countersink, it's got this collar here. Once it hits whatever you're drilling into, it's on a bearing, so it just stops, doesn't mar anything up. Not that it matters with these cabinets, because you're not going to see it, but it's nice. It's not spinning around and marking things up. So that gets a consistent depth and a countersunk spot for the screw head. Got your countersunk hole. It's time to put the screw in. This is where things can get real messy. A lot of this pre-finished plywood nowadays, it's very, it's like squishy. Like they use all sorts of soft wood. So you'll just drive a screw right through it. That's why I don't use an impact driver to run the screws in. What I use is a drill and this very special little guy right here. This is a depth stop chuck for Festool, one of Festool's drills. So it just pops on there. And what's special about this, see, all these drills have clutches. You can set your clutch. The problem with the clutch is it's setting it just based on torque. So if you hit a really hard spot, and it won't drive the screw all the way. Or if it's a really soft spot, it'll drive it deeper. With this one, it simply drives until it actually disengages from the screw head. It's got a big bearing here. It's got this little cap and a no-mar tip. It's just rubber tip here. So it drives it until the screw, it just, again, disengages from the screw. So it doesn't matter if it's hard or soft or whatever, it's driving the same depth every screw. It's really pretty slick. And you can change it, it's adjustable. Each click is, I don't know the specs, but it's like 1/10 of a millimeter or something. So you can really adjust it perfectly. That's what's cool about the Festool drills. I'm sure you can get these for other drills. I'm sure there's something on the market. All right, here we go again. Getting long, I'm getting tired. I can't figure out how to get this damn thing stored back in here. Boom, moving on. So most of your cabinets nowadays, in this modern society we live in, are gonna have some sort of handle on them. Who'd have thunk it, right? Well, in order to put those handles on, they make a jig. This is the True Position Tools cabinet hardware jig. And it's adjustable in all sorts of ways. You can do wide handles, narrow handles. There's a stop here. You can set it, stick it down on top of your drawer, on the side of your door, like so, and get to drilling, right? And there's a lot of pieces to this, and you can do pretty much, there's extensions and all sorts of rigmarole. It gets a little complicated. Not really, but there's a lot to put together. So I use that for obviously putting on all my hardware. But there's another feature that I use just as often, maybe even more so. And it looks like this. What you do is you put these little extensions on, and you have a row, 5mm holes, 32mm apart. Shelf pin holes. It's a jig to drill shelf pin holes. It's fantastic. And I can drill them when the cabinet is assembled. I just stick this in there. I space it off the back, typically with these little knobs here in the back. And I'll set the spacing in the front to wherever I need it. See, I have it marked with tape so I don't drill those holes accidentally. Overall, it's a fantastic tool, and I recommend it. It's one of my essentials. That's why it's in this video. Don't you get this? Don't you get what we're talking about here? I believe True Position now has even more accessories for their tools to make this even more versatile than it already is. So you've got your shelf pins drilled. You got your shelves cut. But what about that raw plywood edge? It's disgusting. You don't want that staring you in the face when you open the cabinet. It's hideous. Makes me sick. So you got a couple options. You got hardwood nosing, you got iron-on edge banding, and I'll use both, depending on the situation. Now, typically with iron-on edge banding, I just iron it on. I don't have any fancy tools for that. It doesn't take that long, and it seems to be pretty effective. So I just use an iron. Simple. But whether it's iron-on edge banding or solid nosing, I flush trim everything with this guy right here. It's the OF1010, and it's got this, I don't know what they call this exactly, some type of plate. I call it the flush trim plate. And what you do with this machine, I have it loaded up with a white side compression bit with the bearing. It's got a little tiny bearing on there. Can you see that little bearing right there? That little guy right there? So look at that hideous plywood edge. Hideous, right? Ugh. Ooh, that looks a little nicer. Just iron-on edge banding. What you do with this machine, just take it on here, run that plate right along like that. There's many ways of cutting edge banding, trimming it. Here's one, it's a fast cap, just a little trimmer. There's many different companies that make this. You can use a razor blade and get down here and kind of skim it along, but I've never gotten results as clean, as crisp as I have with this router. It's just amazing. There's no chip out. And I will actually take this afterward and come in and really give it one little scrape, and it usually gets a little bit of the glue off there. But I mean, that's a really nice, how many ways can I show you this? It's just really nice. Of course, it's all adjustable, knobs and everything. And I think with this bit, you can do up to 3/4 solid wood. I've done maple, a lot of poplar, and it just tears right through it. Clean as can be. That's the truth. Fantastic. All right, your cabinet is coming together now. You got a box, you got some shelves. If you're putting a face frame on it, it's on there. But now you need some doors. Whether you make them or buy them, I make my own. Those doors need hinges. 35mm concealed cup hinges is what they need. How are you gonna drill those holes? They're huge. Oh, this is how I do it nowadays. The Blum Eco Drill hinge boring machine jig. You call this a jig? I don't know. Is that a jig? I don't know what I call that. I call it awesome. What it does is it simply drills out the hole for the cup hinge. A Forstner bit in there. And you got 2 small 8mm bits on either side. If you're using a certain type of hinge with dowels on it, I believe, you will use these. But otherwise, there's these little collars, these orange collars that stop it from going down. But what that does is it marks where your screw goes. So it won't drill the hole, but that drill bit will just touch the wood and mark where your screw goes. Now it's got all sorts of offsets from 1 to 8 millimeters. And in order to change that, you just loosen up these little screws here and you can flip this odd shaped thing around and it'll give you all those different offsets from the edge, 1 to 8 millimeters. Thickness, you can see, I adjusted it earlier. So it'll run, it'll do between very thin, I mean, you're gonna have, I think 3/4 your minimum, up to, I think, inch and a half, inch and 5/8, something like that. You can do a pretty thick door. And then once you have it set, there's a center line. You just gotta mark your center line. Slide it on there. And then just boop. Just locks on like that. And it grips well. A couple of rubber pads down here. And you just move it on to the next one. Lock it. Then there's a Torx bit. A store right here, Torx bit. Put the Torx bit in there. Drill it, drill it, drill it. Boom. Done. Gets a little plugged up sometimes. You gotta kind of work the bit and vacuum it out. But overall, I've been really happy with this. It's quite a beast. You don't need any tools to adjust anything on here. So the last thing I do on all my doors, all my frames, shelves, pretty much everything with a hard edge is it gets a round over on it. And that's what this router is for here. It's the Festool MFK 700 trim router. And I have it set up with a Freud 1/16 inch round over with a bearing. It's the perfect amount. 1/8 inch is too much. 1/16 is just right. So I round over everything with this. Absolutely love it. It does have swappable bases. This is kind of, I don't know, they sell it as like a edge banding trimmer because they have some other bases. I have the base. It's a horizontal base. Just goes on like that and then you can run it this way and trim edge banding. I just use this one for everything. For all my edge banding, just stays like this. And then this one just stays like this, just ready to go at a moment's notice. I love the fact that they all have dust collection. It's really important to me. I work with MDF, so I think I've said enough. Need I say any more? 44 minutes, folks. It's getting out of control. So this video wouldn't be complete without talking about the domino, of course. I have a whole video on this I just did recently. Check it out. I'll put it wherever, up here somewhere. It's just very useful. If I'm doing face frames, I will use this to align the face frames onto the box and then just pocket screw it. I usually don't glue them on, but sometimes I do, see? It's always different. I'm always doing different things. Found it to be a pretty indispensable tool. I think that's it, actually. I can't believe it's been 45 minutes already. When I start these things, they just kind of fly by. So that's kind of an overview of my top whatever. What did I call this video? Top 7? I don't even know how many I did. How many was that? Doesn't matter. Those are the tools. For what I do, small one-man shop, always doing one-off stuff, just a lot of variation. They're nice to have. Let's go on to the honorable mentions now. Those who didn't make the cut, but nonetheless deserve recognition for the small part they play. I promised you honorable mentions. I got a couple here. If you're using concealed undermount slides, there's a process to mounting those. They need a notch in the back of the drawer, and there's a hole that you have to drill. And that's what this jig is for. This locates the hole in the back of the drawer. And then there is a catch on the front of the drawer. That's what these little holes are for here. Just a simple, basic little tool that speeds up the process. This one is made by Rockler. I only wear my hat backwards. Can't wear it forwards. It looks stupid. You'd think this would be an essential, but I just don't use it that much. And it's the pocket hole jig. I just don't use it that much. I mean, I do. I guess you could call it an essential. This is the Craig K whatever, 4 or 5. I have it screwed to this piece of plywood. That way I can clamp it to my bench and I hang it on this. I think that's it for the honorable mentions section of this video. Thank you. All right, folks. This is a new segment. It's called Viewer Questions and Comments. I think it's going to be a big hit. You just send me emails or questions and I answer them here. Let's start. I have 3 for you tonight. All right, this first one comes in via email. Brenda W. asks, nothing about carpentry, just curious. What is your favorite tuber? Well, Brenda, the answer is simple. The humble potato. Simple, yet so tasty. Okay, next one comes from social media. Pete1173 says, loving the channel. comma. That's it. That's all I wrote. Loving the channel. Oh, can't argue with that. All right, the next one comes in via text message. It says, quit playing with your camera. Dinner's ready. Mother, I'm late for dinner. She hates when I'm late for dinner. I gotta go. Frig. Oh my God, 50 minutes. I told you it happened again. How am I gonna cut this down? I don't think I can. I'm just giving up. Just leave them long. That's gonna do it, I think. Shoot some B-roll, shoot some damn B-roll, and that will do it. I really do gotta get going here. No chit-chat. Bye-bye. Where's the button here? Friggin' button. There it is. I wasn't recording. Toodaloo.